Hello and welcome back to Bookish Brits. My name is Michelle and today I thought I would do the representation book tag. Now this is actually the second time that I'm filming this. I filmed it months ago and then when I went to edit it I found that the file itself was corrupted, so I'm a little bit annoyed, and for that reason I might just speed through some of the answers because I'm absolutely sick of myself and my voice and everything that I have to say, having filmed this twice already, but whatever. Let's get into the actual tag itself. There are 6 questions. The original poster is Iris Messenger. I'll leave a link down to their channel down below. I saw the video on Ariel Bassett's channel, so I'll leave a link to her video down below as well. So as I said, there are 6 questions to this tag. Let's get started. So the first one is introduce yourself. What are your identities? This one's kind of a long answer. I am mixed race. My father is white. My mother is Native Alaskan, specifically Tlingit. I moved away from Alaska when I was 7. My mother moved away. She moved out of the house when I was 11, and I never really felt particularly connected to the Tlingit side of my heritage. So it feels like I'm lost a little bit in terms of knowing, I struggled with it quite a lot when I was younger. I wasn't white enough for some people, I wasn't native enough for others. It's a real, it always just felt like a real struggle. I'm also an immigrant to this country. I moved to the UK 20 years ago. I'm filming this 2 days before my 20-year moving to the UK anniversary. It feels a little bit strange, but yes, I'm bisexual, though I am in a heterosexual relationship, and I feel like that sometimes erases my sexuality, but it is still there. That is still part of who I am. I identify as she and her, those are my pronouns, and I have many mental illnesses, so I'll talk a little bit about those in terms of the representation in the books that I read. And yeah, I'm also in an interracial marriage with a mixed race family as well. So that's me, that's who I am. Hello. Question number 2 is, what was the first book or media in which you felt represented? It's a bit sad, really, that it took such a really long time for me to feel as though I was represented in any kind of books or media. It was actually the Cheerios ad, which I think was done for the Super Bowl in 2013, and it absolutely made me cry. It's a cereal advert, and there was a mixed race couple with children, I believe, and you know, they sit around and they're eating Cheerios, and I absolutely cried. It really made me feel emotional because it was just the first time that I'd seen any kind of family like that shown on TV, like a family like mine, which was my normal throughout my entire childhood, and obviously that's my normal today as well. There are other books that have I don't know, hit me emotionally. Here We Are Now by Jasmine Warga was a book that I think she says something along the lines of how a particular character isn't going to move halfway around the world away from her friends and family in order to live, to just not strive for something bigger and better. And I don't know, it was just that sentiment, I guess, of what it's like to be an immigrant and strive for those things that really hit me emotionally. So I really enjoyed that. Everything by Nicola Yoon, I remember was being the first book that that a character is described as being white. I think that it's so often just white is the default, whereas in this book, like the majority of the cast are people of color, so when a new boy moves in next door, his whiteness is something that makes him different, and I found that really interesting. It was something that when I read it, and just having that descriptor white before a character absolutely blew my mind. It was a really interesting experience. Far From You by Tess Sharp is the book that I credit. Is it wasn't as though I read this book and then I just immediately understood that I am bisexual myself, but it's a book that I read that helped me get to the point in my life where I was able to accept and identify that is part of my sexuality, and also therefore part of my identity as well. So I'd read other books with bisexual or gay characters, but this is the book that stands out for me as being one that felt important as I was reading it. And finally, I've got Saving Francesca by Melina Marchetta. Melina Marchetta is one of my favorite authors just in general, but I think that what I really loved about this book is that it's a portrayal of a girl who is dealing with her mother's depression, and I think that it was a book that I really needed to read to help me, I guess, in my own experiences. And I just think what this book does so well is that it gives a voice to everyone else to see how things like a major mental illness has an effect on the people living with that person as well. So I grew up in a household with a single father who was both disabled and had lots of complicated mental health issues, I guess, and this book was really interesting, discussing those things. So those are the books that I wanted to highlight as being I felt represented with some of those. So question number 3 is there a character in your favorite book or genre that represents you? I've been really wordy with some of the other questions in this. I'm gonna just say no with this one. That is the answer in a nutshell. There's not a whole lot of characters that I read about and think, oh wow, yes, somebody has encapsulated me in my entirety, just because, especially being Native Alaskan, it's quite a minority group, and then adding in all of the other different layers to my identities. And no, I've never come across anyone that I felt really strongly as being, wow, yes, I can totally see myself. There are elements in lots of different books, but not like the whole picture. So question number 4 is, what was the worst representation of one of your identities that you have ever read? I don't really want to go into specifics with like this book is the absolute worst, but there's been some pretty bad representations that I've read growing up. I think that when I was younger, I really struggled with not really having anyone around to help me explore my Native American heritage, so I did end up going to the library and just picking up books about Native American characters or stories, and a lot of the books that I was reading as a youngster were really, really badly represented. It was very much involving like a white savior trope, somebody coming into a Native American, I don't know, family or character or setting and saving things. It just felt like, I mean, a lot of them were historical as well, and it just felt like an erasure of those identities. It felt like white was best, and I didn't really, that's not the type of story that I wanted to read as a young person. It's not the type of story that I want to read now, so it makes me angry thinking about a lot of the books that I read as a young, I don't know, child, early teen type of thing. There's a lot of biphobia that I've read or seen in TV programs. people don't really have this concept of, you know, having a romantic or sexual interest in more than one gender. It feels as though even though a character is had, I don't know what I'm trying to say, and I'm starting to ramble, but biracial, biphobia, it really grates on my skin. I find that there are a lot of either bad or romanticized stories involving mental illnesses or trauma. I read a lot when like new adult was like a thing, and I hope it's not really a thing, but I've kind of blocked it out of my life. But it felt like every other new adult book that I was reading, it was romanticizing mental illness or self-harm or something, trauma just in general. And I think trauma porn books are the absolute worst. I hate them. And there's just too many of them. So without getting too ranty, I'm just gonna move on. And I think also in the same sort of lines as romanticizing mental illness, I feel like quite often people with mental illness don't really end up with a happy ending. That, you know, authors are killing them off like crazy, and it sort of reinforces the fact that if you have a mental illness, you don't get to fall in love, you don't get to have a happy ending, and I really hate that as well. I want my happy ending. I deserve that. So does everyone else with complex mental health needs. So there you go. Question number 5. What was the best representation of your identities? I mean, besides some of the books that I've already mentioned, I think the book that really stands out for me the most is A Change Is Gonna Come. I really, really loved that book. It felt... I have an ebook version of it, otherwise I'd show you my copy, but I'll put the cover somewhere here. What I loved about it is that, I mean, there was such a range of storytelling within A Change Is Gonna Come, and all of it was from people of color, Black, Asian, minority, ethnic, UK authors, and it felt important. It felt like there was value to these stories. You know, publishing is such a white industry, and there's lots of statistics about a low percentage of representation in books, and there's lots of stories of that, and it just felt like a good step forward, having a book like that, and I hope that it definitely continues. Question number 6 is, do you think your identities are misrepresented or underrepresented? I touched on this briefly in one of the other questions. Just because I am half Native Alaskan, it's really hard to come across books like that. I'd definitely like to read more books with mixed race characters, with more Native or Indigenous characters, but I'd like to see them coming from Own Voices authors. I think that it's definitely worth supporting Own Voices, whether it's disability, race, religion, sexuality. Own Voices is the way forward, and I hope that everyone from readers to publishers gets behind that. But yeah, I would definitely say underrepresented in terms of race anyway. That's all the questions today. I would like to invite anybody who would like to talk more about representation to take part in this tag, but I'm also just going to specifically tag both Andrew and Rex from Bookish Brits. Yes, my other 2 contributors to this channel. I think that it would be interesting if you guys wanted to talk about representation in books as well. So that's it for me today. Don't forget to like this video or subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications. We'll be uploading content on a regular basis. Don't miss out on that. Take care. Goodbye.